Okay, guys, here we have another example of using TIBO. TIBO is just a funny way of saying division. And what it stands for is top inside, which is your numerator, which goes inside the house. Bottom outside, which is your denominator, which goes outside. So the correct place to put these numbers is here on the inside, top number, and bottom on the outside. A lot of students will have a bad habit from elementary of always thinking that the bigger number should always go inside and the smaller number should go outside. You set it up this way, your answer is already going to be incorrect. It's not about the size, it's about the placement or order. Top always goes on the inside, bottom goes on the outside. All right, so this is the correct way to put them, and now we can get started. So right off the bat, we run into a problem. The problem is that 40 is just way too big for 5. You can't fit into it. So since you can't fit 40 into 5, you need to place a 0, right? That lets me know that you can't fit this number into that number. It's not possible, so that's why you put a 0. So what we got to do now is somehow make 5 big enough for 40. Now you could just add a 0, but if you do that, it's going to give you an incorrect answer because you just changed the value of the number. You went from 5 to 50. You can't do that in math because you're going to get the incorrect answer. What I could do is add a decimal and a 0. You're allowed to add zeros to any number as long as you add a decimal at the end of it. Now if we focus on just 5.0, it still stands for 5, right? It just has a decimal now. But for the sake of this question, we're going to pretend that this is really 50. Don't erase the decimal, leave it there. But while we're working this question out, we're going to pretend this is 50. The reason is because we want 40 to fit into 50. So now we're going to ask ourselves, how many times can you fit 40 into 50? Now most of you shouldn't have any trouble figuring that out. But some of you who are not that great at division struggle with big numbers like this. Well, there's a solution to help you understand this better. What you could do is cover up your zeros. Now when I say cover up your zeros, I do not mean to get rid of them. You just can't get rid of your zeros. You got to leave them there. What we could do is cover them up. Cover this one up and cover that one up. This is only possible when the numbers end in 0 like these two did. And it has to be the same amount. If you cover up one here, you can only cover up one here and vice versa, right? So now the numbers look or appear to look much smaller. How many times can we fit 4 into 5? Well, that's easy. Oh, but wait a minute. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot one very important thing. Anytime you place a decimal right here, you must also place it right above it, or else your answer will be incorrect. So, what I should do next, before I start continuing division, is make sure that I place my decimal right above it. If I had forgotten to do that, everything was going to be wrong. So it's important. As soon as you place that decimal here, you also place it above here. Shoot it up, straight up. Now let's go back to where we left off. So, how many times does 4 fit into 5? One time. So now I'm going to multiply to see what I end up with. This is easy. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 1 is 4. So I end up with 40. I subtract that amount. 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 4 is 1. And we end up with 10. We continue until there is no more number left. We still have a number there, so we need to take care of that 10. You can't fit 40 into 10. It's too big. That's the same problem we had in the beginning when we couldn't fit 40 into 5. But the way we solved it is by adding a decimal and then a 0. Well, we're going to do that again, but this time without adding another decimal, because numbers can only have one decimal. So please don't do this. Please don't add a decimal and another 0 anytime you want to add another 0. Let's just stop and look at this. You never see two numbers with decimals. If you were to go to the grocery store and you saw two decimals on the price tag, you'd know something was wrong. Whenever you add just one decimal, you can add as many zeros behind it as you want, as many. So if you wanted to add infinite amount of zeros, you can. It does not change the value. It's still a value of 5. But for this question, 1 is enough. I don't have to add all those. And the one you just added, you drop it. And now instead of 10, it becomes 100. And again, you're going to see how many times you can fit 40 into 100. Most of you shouldn't have any trouble figuring that out, but for those who do, again, like I mentioned before, cover up your zeros. But remember, you have to be fair about this. What I mean fair is, please don't cover up 2 here and 1 here. All right, it has to be fair. If you cover up 1, you must cover up only 1 in the other one. So that's the correct way. And now the numbers appear to be smaller, making it easier to divide. How many times can you fit 4 into 10? Well, that's easy. 2 times. And now you're going to multiply 2 times 0, which is of course 0, and 2 times 4, which gives me 8. So I'll put 8 right here. And now I subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. All right. Right here, 0 minus 8, you're going to borrow. This becomes 0. This becomes 10. 10 minus 8 is 2, giving us 20. All right, we're still not done yet. Remember, you want to make sure that you are left with 0. And we're still left with 20. All right, let me just make this smaller, so that way we can make sure we're seeing the whole question. All right, there we go. So now, again, I have another problem. 20 is too small for 40. All right, but we've seen this before. When we had 5 too small for 40, we solved it by adding another 0. We're going to do the same thing again. We're going to add another 0, but remember, you don't have to add another decimal. 1's enough. So I'm going to add 1 more 0. Hopefully this is the last one I need. I'm going to drop it. And now this becomes 200. Now, 200 is big enough for 40. Now we got to see how many times we can fit 40 into 200. And like I said, if this gives you a hard time because the numbers are big, there's a solution to make this easy for yourself. Cover up your zeros. So let's do that. All right, let's make this smaller. Like I said, pretend this is your fingers. I know your fingers aren't green, but use your imagination. So cover up this one and this one. And now it looks like we have, instead of 40 and 200, 20 and 4. That's much easier to figure out. If that still gives you trouble, figuring out how many times 4 goes into 20, use your multiplication chart. So let's go to 4 and see if we can get up to 20. Yep, right there. So what number are we going to pair 4 with? 5. So give me a minute. Something's wrong with my pen. It'll fix itself. There we go. Took a while. 4 times 5 gives me 20. So I'm going to put right here 4 times 5. All right. And now let's do the math. 5 times 0 is going to be 0. Let's get rid of this line right here. And then 5 times 4 gives me 20. I subtract 0 minus 0, 0, 0, 2 minus 2 is 0, and we are done. Once you have nothing left over, you have your answer. So I just converted 5 out of 40 into 0.125.